Hi, Intro to Digital Arts. It's me, Miss Satari, and welcome to some information about this assignment. So in this video, I'm just going to be going through a few things. This is for week 3, your elements and principles of design formative assignment. We talked about this in our e-session from week 2, and now we're diving into it as a completed assignment for week 3. So let me move this video and we'll get going. Groovy. So here I have just a start, just an example of the elements of design and the principles of design. This template is in BB9 and you can download it and bring it right into Photoshop. So I'm going to start right from the beginning and I'm going to make myself a new Photoshop document. Once I've clicked on New, or the plus button on an iPad, we're going to make our assignment here on the right-hand side. We're just going to call it Design in your name. Instead of pixels, inches. And we're going to be working 8.5 by 11. And I just want that orientation to be horizontal. So 11 by 8.5. 72 pixels per inch is perfect. If it doesn't say pixels per inch, you can select that. Color mode, RGB color, 8-bit is perfect. Once I have this all set up, I'm going to press create. And I've got myself a blank workspace. With this space here, I want to get a new layer, because Photoshop works in layers, by clicking the plus on the bottom right corner to get myself a new layer. And this is where we're going to put in that template. And on the iPad, on your toolbar, you actually have a photo button to bring in the template. On the computer, we're going to File, Place Embedded. So once again, that's File, Place Embedded. Hopefully you have that picture saved on your computer. Mine is in my Documents folder because I have a folder for this class. And there's my template. Once I have it selected, I'm going to press Place. Same thing on the iPad. Once you find it, press Place. It's going to think for a little bit because it's bringing in a picture. And now I've got it here. And it nicely lines up on the side, which is great. Got a little bit of room on the top and bottom just for some mistakes to happen that we can erase, and also your name. I'm just going to click the Move tool on the computer, and that's going to place that image. Now that I have this here, this is where you're going to make a layer for each of the different elements and one for the principles. You could set this up right away, or you could just work one by one. So I'm going to set up a new layer here. Name this one Color, and I just did that by double tapping. It's nice to name your layers so that it is organized over here. You're not looking at layer 1 through 50. You know what's on that layer. For color, and as you work on the different elements and the different principles, you could do a Google search for element of design, color in art, or color in art, but you're basically making your own short visual definition of that element. So I'm going to zoom in here using the zoom tool, and then I'm going to move. And for color, I want to play around with the brush tool. Make it a little bit larger. Smaller than that. And undo. I'm going to use my colors off to the right. My color swatches. And I want to find a nice red. Yes. And an orange. Because to me, when I think of color, I think of really, really like rainbows and brightness. If you are stuck on what to create here, use that resource I was talking about. Do a Google image search for color and art. And then you can put that example here. I'm going to put a different blue in between blue and purple. Oh yeah, that'll be a nice transition. So I'm just doing this with my trackpad here. And then I'm going to use my good old smudge tool. Find one that I want to use to smudge my colors around. I'm just going to do this guy here. Nice. Mix my colors up. So when I think of color, that bright funness of color is what I think about. So I've got my little cloud of color here. Yeah. So as you're going, that took me just a few minutes there. Really just go in element by element, making sure that you make a new layer for each element you're working with. So if I have my layer here, line, then I can start to work on my line space. Before I wrap some things up here, once I'm zoomed in on a computer, and you're using both of your hands on an iPad, but on a computer, whatever tool I'm on, if I press I'm going to go to my zoom, if I just hold down the space bar, it gives me a little hand. So I'm holding down the space bar, and then I can click and drag and just move all around the document without having to zoom out and then zoom back in. So that hand tool is even a tool too if you don't want to hold down the space bar. So it's a really good resource to use. You can use that brush tool. When I got to shape, on the toolbar, clicked and hold down the shape here. And then I could select all these different shapes that I could work with. So those are just some hints to you. I'm going to go back to this guy here. All of the simple definitions are just visual pictures here. So for form, something that's three-dimensional, I made two different shapes and then drew and then made it look three-dimensional by adding the highlight and the shadow for that form. Space, thinking of that space in between my different shapes. My triangles are overlapping in the space there. Texture, I made a shape and then I applied a texture into it. You can also use the brush tool to create a texture. Value, I used the shape tool and then used the gradient to fill it in. You can use the paint bucket, which also has a gradient tool. I like making a shape. I'm going to just make a random one right here real quick. This property menu will appear. For appearance, for fill, I just clicked on the gradient. Ooh, and there's a bunch of just really fun ones for value because it's that range of light to dark. And since I don't want that shape, goodbye. When you get into principles, I'm going to start with balance here. Big thing to know about balance, it's the same thing happening on both sides. So I'm just going to make a rectangle here. Then I'm going to go back, make a circle, fill that with yellow. And since I want to do the same thing on both sides here, while I'm in the shape there, I can actually just copy and paste it and line that up. This is kind of looking like one of those old school boom boxes, and I think I might just make this a boom box. So, fun things that you can do here. Once everything is completed, we're going to use our imagination here that I have all of my boxes filled in. I have emphasis, proportion, movement, pattern, contrast, unity, everything's all completed. You're going to take a screenshot, making sure your layers menu is large enough to view. So at the top here, I can move it, which squished everything up, so I can see some of the layers you worked in. And then just as simple as taking a screenshot, so it includes your work and your layers, and that's what you're going to be uploading onto BB9. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. Have a good rest of your day.